Hello and welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 195. I'm Clint, aka JCM, with this week is Isley
Yo.
and Messiah.
Hello.
It's been a while since we've recorded. We're not going to cover too much of the news. I mean, not that there was a whole lot of it in the couple of those previous weeks. One of the big ones was a conversation around the Last of Us Online and how apparently it was, according to Shuhei Yoshida, like it was really great, but it got canceled because Bungie explained to Naughty Dog like what it was going to take to make a live service game, and they didn't want to invest that much in it, and they want to make, keep working on Intergalactic. But we talked about it in Discord. We don't got to go over too much in the podcast because it was, it's been been a while since that report came out. But it's just like, man, I feel like you don't need to do a ton of content. Just have little basic online mode extraction, kind of like the Division. Just have it up, and then just have a small team do up. Like you can do lots of updates in quote unquote live service games with a small team. Like I've seen the Division 2 do it with some of their little season updates that are very tiny, which is like a little mission here and there. But just have team deathmatch and all that normal stuff from TLoU 1 as an option as well. And I feel like Ghost of, we talked about before, like Ghost of Tsushima's multiplayer was fine. You don't need to add more to it. Just
That's also the point of live service. It gets updates. It gets content added to it. It's a longevity thing. Like it doesn't start out as what it ends up being. Fine, but just have like 2 game modes. People will enjoy it, and then add more stuff later.
Yeah, just if you just come out and say it's not a live service game, here it is, a strong foundation. Again, like the Division, Division was good out the gate, and now Division 2 was in a better spot because obviously they had a whole time doing the Division. But I feel like you could have had enough there if you still had the normal match modes to satiate people, and then they can like play it, and then maybe put it down, and then only play TDM and whatnot. Isley, you were saying?
It's just a weird situation because the whole reason they broke it out into its own game to begin with was because they felt like they had so much content for it. So if you had enough content to break it out from The Last of Us 2 and make it its own multiplayer game, that sounds like enough content for a game itself. If you don't feel you have enough content for it, which kind of seems to be the indicator of like the live service aspect, like they canceled it. But it just makes me wonder, did you actually ever have the content for it, or were you guys just all really sold on something that you didn't sit through and like study? It feels like it could have been a standalone multiplayer game that was not expected to be updated every like month or 3 months, or whatever roadmap they had was so ambitious they just had no concept of how much work it would actually be. I don't know. It's weird. It seems like one of those mismanaged it seems like a mismanaged game thing again of upper management making a decision that doesn't really make sense.
I call sabotage.
Yeah, like again, just don't say that's what it is. If it's all about setting player expectations. It's not a live service. It's not like look at Outriders, right? Like great game, not live
Yeah, really
service.
fun.
And so it's like you could do something like, hey, this is what we got. Like, yeah, sure. Again, players will, like if Destiny 2 came out vanilla and they never had updates, like, yeah, there's enough stuff there to play. And then when you're done, you can do the multiplayer if you want, and then you just stop playing. And like, that's what they could have done there. Like put the time in it. Now, obviously it could be one of those things like, oh, well, maybe there was an exact like, hey, we have a lot of content, some fun idea we want to do. But it's like, all right, if it's standalone, then we have to sell so much to make up for those dev costs. And the only real way to do that is as a live service. And it could be one of those things like, okay, like obviously it could have been standalone on its own, not live service, but it's like too much of an investment to do so to where it's like you couldn't recoup those costs by not putting out more content. But so whatever, just it sucks because the years of waiting on it and them being excited about it being expanded in the concept art and yada yada, and it's just a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I come back to it. It really feels like either they hyped up the game and didn't have content for it, in which case it shouldn't have been a standalone game, or it was pushed to be standalone and it was pushed to be live service from someone up above who thought it would make a ton of money, and that ended up being a stupid decision.
Yeah, it makes me wonder too if they had any TDM and deathmatch and the other modes from the first one in it at all, or if it was only this, big Division style game. Because I'm like, man, it's a shame you can't just finish the TDM deathmatch and just make it like its own standalone thing and just put it out there. Like you have the content, just put it out.
Or roll it into an update for Last of Us 2.
Yeah, do something like that. Like you're like people are spending time doing the TLoU 2 remaster, right? It's like can we not also have them just finish up whatever need to be done for if you had those modes? Which again begs the question if they did or not. But anyways, but yeah, moving on from that. So Balatro had a lot of issues with their PEGI rating because they got flagged for gambling for PEGI 18, and this was a while ago, and they just finally got it down. They appealed the European rating to get it to PEGI 12, saying there's no gambling.
It took that long?
Yeah.
I thought it was already dealt with.
No, it took a while to appeals process is probably gonna take a bit. Like you put it in there, and then it's like, oh, it's gonna take a long time to get it, through the process and reviews and all that jazz. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking I've been trying to. I'll get into it later. In what we're playing and whatnot. But I was like looking at what games trying to find some good games to install on my phone, my Fold, and I was like looking at some of them, and I thought about, what, maybe like this is the time I can actually finally start and try Balatro, is just play it on mobile and not play it on desktop and whatnot. I was considering it. I haven't done it yet, but anyways. But yeah, good for them, because I know that was like the PEGI 18 rating. I mean, I don't know how much that's going to stop people. It's not like they're China where they have like super restrictions for kids on their consoles and whatnot. So I wonder who it stopped, or if it was like maybe it impacts them for advertising or something. Like,
I think
I'm curious.
Impacts their like advertising and who they're allowed to advertise to and stuff like that.
Yeah, like maybe you can't, I don't know, put it up, or yeah, who knows? Maybe they got some strict advertising on platforms where kids have access or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was just weird. And then the other bit of news is that apparently Bloober team has signed a deal for another game for Konami after the success of the Silent Hill 2 remake. So I'll be curious to see if they're going to do another Silent Hill game. I'm not familiar enough with the franchise to know like what's the next best one after 2. Or
3.
Yeah. 3? 3's the next one?
Okay. Well, 1 and 3 are very good, but 3, that isn't, well, 3 is a direct sequel to 1, so...
Yeah, I was going to say at that point, you're probably you either have to do 1 and 3, or you're doing 4, which is generally considered not the best, but really interesting and needing a lot of work. So it could be that they're going to do 4. Actually, I would put my money on 4, but with enough rework to make the game better and fix the bad aspects of it, which were kind of like controls and combat, which...
All Silent Hill games?
All Silent Hill games, but then the remake did better. So like 4 could actually be a good contender for it, because it's the one that had, in my opinion, like the most potential that they just kind of botched.
Yeah,
4 was very interesting. It had like a really interesting concept, the way that it like separates the real world from the Silent Hill world or whatever, the underworld. And just like the way that the story plays out. It was really cool. So that would be a really good one, I think.
4 is The Room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't it like also not review too well? Like if I recall, like IGN gave it
it was just okay.
Yeah.
When it came out. But like, again, it's just because of like the execution, I think. If they had like a little bit more polish to it, it would have been really good. But the concept of the game itself and like how the story plays out is really neat.
Yeah. There's a sentiment online from a lot of people who talk about like, oh, stop doing remakes of movies that were great. You should remake movies that had great concepts but were bad. And like you could do that with a game. Like take a game that had like, a really good idea or themes and just didn't do well, maybe because the platform it was on was too limiting at the time, and just remake that game. And then maybe this could be a case of, maybe it wasn't so good for, I'm looking at like IGN gave it 6.9. Just trying to look at other reviews as well, but like take a game in a franchise or just even a one-off game or something and be like, hey, this had really cool ideas. Just because we talk about all the time with sequels, like, oh, it's sequels. Yeah, it says like Uncharted 7 and then Uncharted 2, it's like game of the year. It's like, they get a chance to improve, but you don't always get that chance in a lot of other games, especially from smaller devs and what have you. So it's like, that'd be kind of cool if they took a game that's like, oh, I love the themes and the story, but the gameplay is not that great. All right, let's redo it and make it better. That'd be a pretty cool idea, but we'll see what they do. I mean, obviously it's going to be a ways out, I mean, well, knowing Konami, they'll probably announce it too soon or something, but who knows? And the other bit of news is that Fable's been delayed to 2026. Microsoft announced they showed a new pre-alpha gameplay, which I didn't watch because anytime anybody releases pre-alpha stuff, I'm like, damn, I'm good. If it's in a trailer or something, whatever. But yeah, unfortunately, there are folks who are looking forward to it, but been delayed. I'm sure they got some other stuff coming out this year that they'll be.
I mean, I love Fable, or loved the very first Fable, but man, they haven't hit it well in such a long time, and then they consistently, like very consistently, delay their games or cancel them or limit the scope. That Fable is not a reliable series, and it's unfortunate because I feel like it's one of Microsoft's like big selling points, or so they market it as one of their big selling points, but man, it just does not really land.
Yeah, and I mean, and they did just have Avowed come out, so it's also like, okay, maybe they don't want two big fantasy games coming out in the same year, especially if Fable needs more time. It's like, all right, well, that's not too bad. We had with fantasy game. We don't need to have necessarily another one come out. It's gonna be one of those situations. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, obviously they probably don't want to have another Redfall issue on their hands or something. Not that it's a live service game, but Phil's probably like, we can't have it fail. We put too much money into Fable. So we'll see what happens there. The PSVR2 got a huge price drop as well starting this month. We're recording on the 2nd of March. PSVR2 dropped down to $399, so $200 price drop on the Horizon Call of the Mountain bundle specifically as well. Like that's pretty significant. I was looking, I was like, man, I'm just the only thing I'm curious now is like I still want one because there's a lot of exclusives on there I would like to try, but I'm wondering like what's their future support going to look like for the platform. I would imagine it's going to sell well because last time they did a big sale like this, the last time I almost got one when the Horizon bundle was down a bunch, and sales shot up like 200% in Europe, I believe. Like there were some articles saying like how like everybody got one like really quick. Obviously, probably not got the same install base or a big enough install base that they would like, but they had huge sales. So I'm curious what this will do. I guess maybe I should just like give it a month, see if there's any sort of reports on the hardware, and maybe that will spur Sony to be like, yeah, let's keep investing. I mean, not that they necessarily were going to drop it. They invested in PSVR1, be it getting titles on the platform from third parties and whatnot for a while, even though that didn't sell. It sold well for what it was, but not like huge numbers. So, but I'll be curious to see what it is really annoying because I get ads for MetaQuest and it's like now what was the ad say? I think it's like $150 less. And it's like, but that's the price it changed to like over a year ago. So I'm like, why do you mean now it's low? Like every time I see it, I'm like, it looks as if it's on sale, now, contemporary, not like, hey, did you hear that we changed our price 2 years ago? Like, shut up. Stop lying to me, man. You make it look like it's a goddamn sale. But yeah, it's interesting to see. Yeah, I should go look at the library and see, because I have like a bunch of games for PSVR like in my wish list. And I'm like, oh, I'll save these for later in case I want to get them. I should also look, 'cause I know when they did the PC link, like it wasn't that good at the start, but I think maybe there's been some updates to it to improve that. So I got to check, because like if that gets really improved, I could see possibly getting over the again, the only reason I was leaning towards the MetaQuest 3 is because it's standalone and you can use the PC link and it'd be easier for like my oldest to use, because then he could just take it in his room, do whatever, and not be tethered to anything. So
true.
But could always just get one and then maybe get the other one later or something out there.
A matter of like hardware versus convenience, I guess. Because if the PSVR2 performs better and you can like eventually things will get ported over, you can link it to the PC, and then that's great. But if you're somebody who needs to like move it around from room to room, or you don't have a dedicated space, or like you have kids that probably want to play it and they don't necessarily know how to like set it up on the computer or get it running on the PlayStation, then it might be worth getting the Meta.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I were to have a Meta, I probably would still like watch and make sure he doesn't do anything goobery while he's got it on. Like, hey, you're too close to your bed.
Doesn't do anything goobery.
Yeah,
just flailing around in the bedroom.
Yeah, like, hey, I gotta set the boundary for where it can go, so that way it warns you, like, hey, you're out of bounds. You're out of bounds.
Make you were about to walk down the stairs.
Yeah, that's right. How'd you get outside? But yeah, just be like, hey, make sure he's doing all right. Yeah, we'll see. Good. Like I said, nice price drop. I'm curious what the sales will do. And then the big news that happened was that Monolith or Warner Brothers canceled the Wonder Woman game from Monolith, and they also shuttered them and Player First Games and WB San Diego.
What?
Because they want to do their strategic realignment and yada yada bullshit PR speech. about it. And it's
The
just like,
executives aren't making enough money. We have to strategically realign.
yeah, it sucks, man. And it's of course like everybody who got let go saying like, oh man, the Wonder Woman game was so good, yada yada. And it's just like, what are you guys doing over there, man? And what's crazy is I think if I recall, like Player First Games, they picked them up in July of last year. So they like just got them and now they got rid of them.
It's pretty interesting and weird that they shuttered them so quickly with games in development, and it makes me think that they're just moving away from the gaming division. But I do wonder then if they're gonna they probably don't want to sell their IPs because they like maintaining creative control. So does that just mean we won't get Warner Brothers IP games anymore?
I imagine. Well, I think we talked about it in Discord, but I imagine they would like lease them out to other development studios. They just don't want anything in-house. It seems like they don't want anything under their banner that's even remotely video game related. I mean, they completely gutted and shuttered Rooster Teeth, which is not even like, I mean, they didn't make a couple games, but it's like just because it was related to video games and now they've done this, it feels like they're just gonna hoard their IPs all to themselves and then lease them out to people.
Yeah,
how long ago was it? I feel like it was fairly recent that they even tried heavily getting into video games.
I mean, WB has had DC for a while. Like they've had, I forget when they picked up NetherRealm. Yeah, let me see if I can look that up. When did WB get?
I say fairly recently. Like I thought it was like past decade that they really started heavily expanding video games.
Okay, so let's see. Reincorporated as NetherRealm Studios, replacing WB Games Chicago. NetherRealm Studios' first game was the 9th installment of the Mortal Kombat series title. So they acquired NetherRealm in 2010.
Okay, 15 years. That actually is longer than I thought.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it looks like in February of 2009, Midway Games filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and Warner Brothers subsequently, I guess, purchased NetherRealms from them. So if Midway didn't go, that's right, Midway, man, that's the name. They bought their assets. They got Mortal Kombat and some other things for about $50 million. And they closed most of Midway Studios. But yeah, some people were saying too, like it, off the record, like it was also the underperformance of the Suicide Squad game impact as well, and then of course Multiverse is not.
I wonder why that one underperformed.
Yeah,
yeah. Couldn't take any sort of guess at that one.
Yeah, and they want to focus only on Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, and what's the other one in there, and Game of Thrones and other DC titles that they know are going to do. It's like, all right, whatever.
I really like that some of these dumb game decisions are. I don't like that game studios are closing because I usually think it's mismanagement. I don't like that people are losing jobs, but I do sort of like that these stupid game decisions like Suicide Squad and trying to make it a live service shooter game like Destiny are having impacts on like the parent companies, because I really hope it just makes them reevaluate the live service trend, which I like live service games, some of them, but I don't need every single game ever to be live service. And I do sort of cynically love the pushback to live service that's been happening lately.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like I was looking at Monolith, I didn't realize until like people were talking about it this week, like the breadth of their game developments. Like they started way back in '97, game called Blood, which I never heard of. It was a 3D first-person shooter. I'm trying to see any sort of details on it, but it got a sequel. But they not only did they do Aliens vs Predator 2 in 2001, they did The Matrix Online in 2005, and then they did Fear in 2005, and they did Condemned Criminal Origins in 2005. And it's like they did Gotham City Imposters, obviously Fear 2, Guardians of Middle Earth, which was like I think a multiplayer online. Was it mobile? No, it was just multiplayer online. And then the Middle Earth Shadow of War games. And I'm like, that's insane. Like they did first person horror. They did with Fear and Condemned. They did The Matrix Online, which is like an MMO. And they did it like they have it's crazy to see someone do so many different like styles, as well as Guardians of Middle Earth being a multiplayer online battle arena game. It's like it's kind of nuts. Like typically, Naughty Dog, they're kind of in their wheelhouse of what they do. Third person, they started out as like platformer, and then they expanded, but it's still like third person kind of action adventure kind of stuff. But like to have these people who did like, oh yeah, we did all these games from '97 current, we covered multiple different genres and like just one studio. It's kind of crazy. Like I didn't realize they did Condemned. Like I remember hearing a lot about condemned.
Yeah, I had no idea they did that.
Yeah, but it's I forgot they did the Matrix Online. Like that's crazy. I played the hell out of Fear, but yeah, just a crazy run there. But yeah, it sucks. And who knows if like one of the Tencent or something buys them out, or who knows, or Krafton, like they did with the Evil Within
God,
team.
it's
We'll just go from one corporate conglomerate to the other.
Yeah.
That's the thing that kills me about it is every time a studio closes, the only answer for game developers and things is usually just going like a lateral move to an equally frustrating company for them. It's such like a toxic environment, and it's been talked about as a toxic environment for like many, many decades, but I don't see it changing anytime soon, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sucks too because typically if you're part of like a big publisher, it'll be like, oh, Sony lets some people go. Like, oh, we're letting like 100 people go from the studio. It's like, okay, well, we have opportunities for you to move laterally to maybe somewhere else. Obviously, you have to move, and that's a big change for if you have a family and whatnot. But it's like at least you can still work in the industry. But obviously, depending on whatever your salary was in your position previously, that might be difficult to move to another spot unless there's like a company assisted moving and whatnot. But yeah, when it's just like straight out, hey, you're gone. It's like, all right, well, with how many jobs have been cut from the game industry over the past couple of years and this year, it's like even if in the region you're in, it's like there probably won't be too much, room for everybody to, like, hey, we're hiring. Like a lot of people aren't really hiring because there's been so many layoffs.
Hey, we're hiring, but for how long?
Yeah.
until the next game is canceled and they have to close again, and it just never seems sustainable. And man, it really takes a unique personality to go into that. I understand why so many people want to start their own studios because they feel like they can control it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But yeah, that was pretty much it for the news. Like I said, there was not a whole lot. I know Shuhei was doing the rounds, doing a bunch of different podcasts and what have you. I didn't listen to every single one of them because a lot of times it'll be similar questions and what have you. But a lot of good interviews out there on podcasts to listen to if anybody's wants to hear those. Yeah, we can go ahead and move over to what we've been playing. Go ahead and start with you, Zaya. What have you been playing?
I've been playing lots of games for once. I played lots of things.
Yeah, I know.
Hell yeah.
I know a demo that you're playing.
I did. I played the Solarpunk demo for about, I think the Steam count says about 12 hours total. I decided at that point to go ahead and put it down because I built what I wanted to build and I should just wait. So did that. Primarily.
How did you like it?
It's so fun. I can see like there are some weird little choices as far as like controls and like menus and stuff like that. It takes a lot of getting used to, and the fact that like there's like a quick craft menu which is bound to F, and then to use pretty much everything else is E. So it's like that makes my brain go, which button is it that I do things? So I'm constantly opening the quick craft menu when I'm trying to like harvest berries. So there's just like a little bit of weird stuff that probably needs polishing and stuff like that. I mean, obviously I'm fine with how it is right now because I played it for 12 hours. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen a lot of people complain about is controlling the airship, which is very finicky and very difficult, and it takes a lot of getting used to. But I think people are just like giving up too soon, because I think if you just fly around for a little bit, you get used to it. But it definitely needs some kind of like interactive tutorial rather than just like popping up a menu of 4 pages that you have to kind of read through and remember things. And it also you can bring up that manual while you're flying, which again is the F key. So if you press that on accident, you just bring up your manual and you may be like descending into the void at that time. So it needs a little bit of polish with that. But other than that, the building is so fun. It's just like a really good system that you can use to build things with. I think they just need to add a few more like detail options, because right now it's kind of like Minecrafty, where it's all built on like square foundations. If you could more freely like create different shapes of foundation with like even just triangular pieces, would open up options so much more. I think that would be really, really great. But it's really, really fun. I literally had to force myself to stop playing it and just wait for like updates or early access or whatever. That's super, super fun. Other than that, I didn't really play any other demos during Steam Fest or whatever, Demo Fest, whatever it's called. And I got sucked into Solarpunk, and that's all I ever wanted to do. But other than that, a couple weeks ago, Michael and I played a Pokemon Soul Link Nuzlocke randomizer together.
I don't even know what that means. What the hell is a Nuzlocke randomizer?
So the basic rules of like a Nuzlocke Pokemon run is just to like add difficulty to it. So the basic rule is that you get one encounter per route or city if you can encounter in the city, and the first thing that you encounter is all that you get. So it's like you go into like the Viridian Forest, and the first thing you run into, you catch it, that's your Pokemon. And the biggest thing is when that Pokemon faints, you can't use it anymore. So you have to box it and use something else or catch something else. So it adds like a difficulty to it. And then we randomized the game. So I think one of our first encounters, he found like, oh my gosh, I can't even remember what. Well, for starter, our starters were, oh my god, I can't even remember what our starters were. They died so early in the run. But it's just like we played Alpha Sapphire on our completely legal and completely above board way to play 3DS games on the computer. So we randomized that. The thing about Alpha Sapphire is it pretty much has every legendary and mythic Pokemon up until that generation. So there are a lot of times that I would go fight a random trainer and they would just throw out like a Zekrom. And I was like, okay, I don't know what to do about this. Or a Palkia or a Dialga. And I was just like, okay, well, you're now going to kill my Pokemon, and that's a big bummer. But the main thing that we transitioned for is Soul Link, which ties each of our parties and our Pokemon together. So we encounter one thing each on the route. Those Pokemon are now linked together. So if one faints, the other one has to be boxed too. So there are a lot of instances of like
so like it just like randomly connects the two. So like if you get a really shitty one and he gets a really good one and your shitty one faints immediately, then he loses his really good one.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
That sounds so fucked up. I love it.
I was gonna see. I wonder if I can bring up our Soul Link
God, how much did you piss him off in your game?
Not too bad. He was having more trouble with like, well, a little bit because I had good Pokemon and he had crap Pokemon tied to it. Like at one time I had where is it? It died at some point. I had to like sacrifice it. Because you'll get, the thing with Randomizer is not only is the Pokemon random, but its moves are random. So you may encounter a water type Pokemon that doesn't have any water moves, but it has like rock type moves or something. And so it's like you'll send out something that's good against water. Oh, well, it's a rock type, so actually it's just going to completely one-shot your thing that you just sent out. So it's kind of like it's kind of random in that thing. But there was at one point I caught one of the legendary lake Pokemon, a Mesprit. It was tied to a Tangela for him. So he's like, well, I can't use this. So now he's technically like one Pokemon short on his team because can't use this Tangela, because if it gets one shot, and it definitely will, then I don't have my legendary Pokemon anymore. So that's a lot of like this stuff. There was one I ran into like a double battle, and one of the other trainers for some reason had a legendary. It just like was just there. It's fine, whatever. And it killed 2 of my Pokemon, so he lost 2 of his Pokemon in one battle. That was really fun. And honestly, I'm glad that we played Alpha Sapphire, because from like the 3DS games on, they get a lot easier. Like it's a little bit more forgiving. If we'd played like the older games, I don't think we would have gotten as far as we did, because a lot of the way that the moves work is so unforgiving, and the type matchups and stuff like that. So just the fact that we played Alpha Sapphire, we were able to actually get to the end of the game, and I was able to finish the Elite Four in the champion battle, and he got to the champion battle and it just completely wiped out his entire team. I was like, oh, okay, I guess if we want to play like the post-game stuff, we have to make all new teams, because it just completely wiped him out.
That's funny.
But it's just like, because of the type matchups and stuff, I got really lucky in the Pokemon that the champion had, so I just kind of like breezed through it, and he got really unlucky in the fact that he had like this huge like beefy Pokemon that he couldn't really do anything against, and then there was like a really, really fast one as like the last one, so he could never go first, and it just kept killing all of his stuff. It was really fun. I kind of want to do another one, but like with one of the older games to see just how much more brutal it is. But yeah, we have like a whole big spreadsheet of like somebody had made a spreadsheet specifically for soul links. So like you can type in the name of the Pokemon and it shows you what the type is. But you put like the Pokemon that are tied together, whether they're alive or not, and we have a lot of red dead things on our little spreadsheet. But that was super, super fun. Other than that, I picked up Monster Hunter, and that's just what I'm doing, and that's what I'm going to continue to do today.
Nice. Yeah, jumping quickly back to Solar Punk, because I did try the demo for a little bit. The one thing I noticed, and obviously it is just a demo, is that, the beginning, it's like, craft you have to craft like a pickaxe or an axe. You gotta like chop down trees, you gotta get wood, you gotta get rocks, or whatever. It's like all these little steps. I'm like, okay, there needs to be more spawns of like rocks on the ground. Like obviously it's a demo, but I'm so used to like Icarus, and like part of that gameplay loop is if you land with nothing, you got to grab sticks and rocks so you can make your axe, pickaxe, and all that stuff as level 1 tier items or tier 1 items. And it's just like, I was like, where the fuck are all the stones on the ground? I was going crazy. I was like, sticks galore, I can find it, but I'm like, the fuck are the goddamn stones? That is the stone. I was like Benicio del Toro in Snatch, man. I was like, just give me the fucking stones. And it was so like I had to run around so much to get past that like one first objective, and I was like, and like I think they made me make an axe first instead of the pickaxe. Or maybe it was the other way around, but I was like, I just need more stones, man. Like there needs to be more.
It's a little bit dicey in the beginning, and I noticed that a lot of the rocks that you can mine for stone kind of blend into the environment. They're like little mossy rocks that you get per stone, and I was like, oh, I overlooked a lot of these rocks to get more stone, and I was just hoping for like, because they do give you like sticks and rocks, they spawn randomly on the map. Mm-hmm. So it's just like I spent a lot of time looking for stones when I could have just been mining these little moss rocks or whatever. So you kind of just have to go around, especially with the stones, you have to go around and just kind of like hit random bumps on the ground and hope that it's a rock and not like just some terrain. So I think that's one of the things they're going to change. But yeah, I noticed a lot of people also had that problem. They were like, it breaks too easily and I can't make more. But then a lot of people don't know that you can make sticks out of the wood. So
yeah. And then the other thing I because there's no key rebindings, I hate, and I know you love it, but I hate that E is the button and it's not F. Like I hate it so much because I'm so used to F in Icarus and I put so much time in there. Like, we've talked about, it's like I can't play Gray Zone, Warfare, and Incursion Red River back to back because they're the same genres, but the controls are slightly different and it'll drive me fucking crazy. And like, I hate it so much. I'm like, I hate it being. Also, I dislike that it's the Minecraft method of how do I get rid of this, build a crafting table. Okay. And I put it down and I'm like, how do I move it? And it's like, I can't just like in Icarus, it's hold X to pick something, like to essentially put it back in your inventory to pick it up. And this is like Minecraft method. You got to pull your axe or pickaxe to destroy it. And I don't like that. I'm like, because I was like, how the fuck do I get rid of this? I need your help. And you're like, you have to smack it. And I'm like, oh, I need my axe out. Because like, I just happened not to have my axe equipped. I was like, okay. I was like, why can't I get rid of this? So I wish it was just, I wish I could just pick it up. I wish I didn't have to, beat it down. Because I hate it's like, oh, make the manual. And I picked the manual. I'm like, why can't I read the manual when it's in my hand, man? And then like, I put it on the fucking ground. And I'm like, all right, I can read it now. And then I picked it up and I put it on the crafting table. It's like, but it's just so annoying. Like, can I just read it? It's in my hand. But I only played a little bit of it because I'm like, okay, I was like, I like so far what they're doing. I went like jumped off the one of the islands just to try it. You said you had to build railings. Were you falling off stuff all the time?
Constantly. Like when I'm when I was building one of my structures specifically, it was kind of near the edge because I was building like a balcony that goes out. Constantly fell off. When I'm planting trees, I'm sometimes moving backwards in like a line because I'm trying to build like a forestry type of thing since I can't obviously make the actual foresting thing. So when I'm planting the trees and moving backwards, I would just fall off the edge of the world. I was like, I need baby rails or like a spidey sense that's like, I'm nearing the edge now.
Mm-hmm. I just like that question. Are you falling off constantly?
Yes.
Like, I need baby gates. I was like, oh, Zaya be falling off.
I had to basically keep a whole box of berries and like bread so that I could get all of my health back every time I fell off the freaking world.
That's funny. Yeah, I'll probably spend because I was like, oh, I could put a lot of time in this in demo because you said you managed to put in a lot of time because you're trying to figure out how to build stuff and do this and that. I'm like, I'll play a little bit of it. And I was like, okay. I was like, I see what you're doing, but I'd rather like get my first real college try and like co-op or something. So hopefully we can find time to play. I wonder if it'll be drop in, drop out. Because I feel like it's probably one of those games where we can't just like, oh, we only play it Friday nights or something. Like it'll have to be like, oh, I'll go into Zaya's save or world, and then I'll just like play on there. So I'll have to like play solo to at least learn like some things, then go fly around with Zaya. Or I guess we could do the inverse of how we did like when we played Core Keeper, where like you and Michael had played so much Core Keeper that when I got it, we just hopped into my game, and then you were the veterans in my world. I guess it could be like that. Like, well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But yeah. It was
yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the multiplayer works, if it's going to be like, this is my offline world and I can invite people to it, or if you specifically make like a multiplayer world with certain invites and stuff like that. Like only certain people can join it, but they can join it anytime, even if the host isn't on.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to stop it, Steam. Go ahead and move on to Isley. What have you been playing?
I've been playing the Game of Life, and I've also been playing a lot of cell phone games, but I'm trying to change careers right now. So I set down 9 souls, unfortunately, on the last boss, and I'm worried about coming back to it because I feel like I'm going to lose all of my skills on the hardest boss in the game, which is going to be a journey. But I really haven't been playing anything for the past like 2 weeks or so. Just been trying to change careers, and it takes up way too much time.
Womp womp.
Yeah, I've been playing Shattered Pixel Dungeon on my phone a lot on my commute, which is...
Don't even know what that is.
It's a dungeon crawling mobile game that is actually kind of entertaining and fun. It's one of those games that's like a simplistic dungeon crawler that is just, click-based and turn-based. I wouldn't recommend it as like the best game ever, but it's a very good game for when you need something mindless. Which is where I'm at in life right now. So no fun games, but I'm looking ahead. I'm looking at my March list and I'm like, man, there's a lot of shit coming out in March. I really want to play Atomfall, so I need to get a new job by then so I can play that.
There you go. That's right. Yeah, I look forward to playing that.
There's a end lot of the month. Coming out this month.
Yeah, luckily not too much. I was looking at it, but like there's a lot. Yeah, March 2025. I mean, we just video game releases. The biggest games for 2025. See here, what we got coming out. Ooh, Carmen Sandiego comes out on the 4th. No, let's see, some big stuff too. Apparently, 2 Point Museum is actually usually pretty good. I saw the reviews for it, and like, cause the 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point Academy, and stuff like that. And I played 2 Point Hospital; it was fine, but I guess like I had some fun with it. But I guess 2 Point Museum is supposed to be like a big improvement on the formula that they have, which seems fun. Fragpunk, I'm also interested in. That seems like it could be kind of cool. That comes out on the 6th. Split Fiction comes out on the 6th. That's right around the corner. That's Friday, man. Easily get your life together so we can play it.
Fucking no kidding. That's so soon. I didn't realize it came out.
Yeah, because now I'm going to have to wait to play it.
March 6th, yeah, maybe. Maybe I'll just take a break and we can just beat it on Saturday.
Just doubt it. Saturday night in one 2-hour sitting.
We're going to do like a full game session. We're going to do a 12-hour session.
Yeah, I'll just tell my kids, leave daddy alone.
I hear that works like a charm.
Yeah, crying kids in the background, COD player. Assassin's Creed Shadow comes out on the 20th. There's that. Which is funny because Rise of the Ronin for PC comes out like, I think the week on the 11th, like a little bit before. Dungeons of Hinterberg comes out on PS5 in this month as well. See what else comes out. I'm trying to see here. And then Atomfall on the 27th. The first Berserker Kazan also comes out on the 27th. That's the one I'm like, we saw it at the Game Awards. Ben Starr is in it. And I'm like, I don't know what, because I think it was introduced by the Russo brothers, right? Like at the Game Awards. I'm like, okay, I guess, but we'll see what happens with that one. But yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff. That was just kind of like a quick highlight of, Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster comes out on the 6th. Yeah, I'm trying to look at all these other that's right. Metal Bringer is the 12th. Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Big list, but I'll be curious to see everything. There's been too many games. Assassin's Creed, I mean, Split Fiction at least is one where I was like, okay, I'll only play it as we have time. But then Assassin's Creed, it's like, okay, I'm gonna probably play that and Adamfall at
Those
the
are
same
also
time.
both probably big games.
Yeah, which is fine. I can do alternate between them. I'm really interested in Adamfall though, which I think would be the shorter of the two. So we'll see. Yeah, lots of stuff. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I finished between the last recording and now. I did beat Outer Wilds. I get why people like it's like their favorite game of all time, whatever they really like it. And I'm like, yeah, it was fun. I think it did for me suffer a little bit from the hype. But I did enjoy the game overall. It got like spoilers, but like, why the hell does the game get so goddamn scary at the very end, man? What the fuck is that about? Like,
dude, it gets so creepy when you have to investigate like the underwater shit.
No, not even. It's like it's when you go into the eye, and then or you go to the station, and then you go on the eye or whatever, and it's like suddenly you're in the museum, but like if you go off the edge, it's like it's just blackness, and then you're in the forest, and you're like trying to find all the people that you met along the way, and like suddenly there's like, oh, it's the giant fish is there, and then disappears, and it's just like really spooky for no reason, and like there's a rocking chair all dead, Evil Dead style, and I'm like, I have so many clips of me getting just freaked out.
I don't know,
for
but
no
I loved
reason
it.
at all.
I
It was
loved that it got spooky.
So weird, man. And it's funny because like at one point I was talking about I think Dead Space remake to someone in chat, and then it was like, I was like, oh, Dead Space, yeah, I really liked it. I was talking about the first one. And I was talking about the original, and it's like, oh, the atmosphere ball, and all of a sudden like scary thing happens, like, oh Jesus Christ, like, fuck, man. But,
it's I don't know, it's an interesting game. So I really enjoyed it when I played it, but I could see why it would suffer from the hype. I think that was a game that like when I heard about it and played it, it wasn't quite so. It was popular and known, but it wasn't heralded as like, oh my god, this is the best game since Ocarina of Time. It was more of just like, this is a really good game, and you should go in blind and play it, knowing nothing about it. And that was kind of how it was, not really hyped up to me, but explained to me. And I liked it a lot going in with that kind of mindset. But going in with the mindset of, it's the best game ever, I can see why that would backfire, we'll say.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a thing about playing a game back when it's first released versus playing it, way later when it's like, because not all the time will a game live up to that sort of hype. But again, I still really enjoyed it. I did pick up the DLC because it was on sale. So I have the Echoes of the AI. So I have that. I haven't played it yet. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was fun. There's some fun bits where like I found things by complete accident. There's like I always forget the name of Giant Steep just because it's called Giant Steep. I always call it the Deep because I'm like, I always forget what the first word was. But that big cyclone that's on it. And then it's like I accidentally was going back to the planet for something, and I just got a peek over like the horizon of the cyclone, and I saw a tower in it. Like it never occurred to me that there could be something in that. And I was like, oh, there's something there. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just fly up and then drop down into the center of the storm, the eye of the storm where it's calm. And then I landed there perfectly. And I did that. Someone was watching me in chat when I discovered that. So it was fun finding that out by accident because I would have never considered, like, the freaking game would have been like, there's Smart Explorer here, and I would have been like, what is there? I read everything. What do you mean there's more? But I found that was fun. And then another bit that I by accident, I was on the moon, the Phantom Moon, and I was like, I was getting the tower. It's like, oh, you gotta move the tower to like the north, according to the older. Oh, you gotta get it to the north side. So it's like I was trying to figure out how to get it like to the northmost side, and I was like trying to get it, like, I didn't know how, if it just had to be northern hemisphere or like really like North Pole. So I was trying to figure out like how to get it there. It's like, it was fun like manipulating where to get the moon to spawn, because like I'm familiar with that mechanic of something only spawning off screen, because I did that in so many games like Assassin's Creed, where it's like I want my horse, but you can't spawn in your horse where you are because you're looking. The horse only spawns where you're not looking, so you got to rotate the camera. Like I want the horse to be right next to me here, so I'll just rotate the camera so it's back there. So it's fun knowing like if I can get the solar map, find the moon, and then position the solar map in such a way that if I rotate, there's only one other planet it could possibly be on, and I would like manipulate it to spawn there. Like that was always fun. And I'm like, I know how to do this. I've done this in other games. But I was like, when I'm in that tower, I was trying to get that tower to go to like the north side or whatever on the Phantom Moon. And there was like, I was inside, I was trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the point of the tower? I have it in the north, but what do I do? And then inside I noticed like, oh, it's got the 6th location on it of the whatever. And I was like, okay, there's a 6th location. It's here. I see it on the thing. I close the door, and then what did I do? Oh, I turned on my light because I was looking up the ceiling, and then I turned down there's like the light switch inside the tower. I turned it down, but my light's on, so nothing happens. And so then I turn it back on, and then I turn off my light, and then I fly up to the top. But as I'm flying up, I see like this green dot, almost like a map marker or like an indicator for something, like is super in the distance. And I'm like, what the hell is this like little dot? Does anybody else see that? And like, I thought I was going crazy. And because I had lined my cursor up to like look right at the dot, as my character was falling, the cursor lined up with the light switch. So as I fell to the ground, I turned the lights off and I didn't have my flashlight on. So then when I turned the lights back on, I noticed that the tower had moved positions because the map marker or the marker indicator on the wall changed spots. I'm like, oh, we're in a new spot. And that's how I discovered that the tower also moves. And this is how I get it to now. I'm like, okay, now the thing here is to manipulate this to get to the thing. So that was like just a total accident of discovering that. But yeah, oops, it was fun. Good time. I look forward to play the DLC. I just gotta wait to get in there and whatnot. But yeah, it was a good time. I enjoyed it. And then like I said, I did try the Solipunk demo. But the fact that I had, because the Steam Next Fest demos are like timed, it's like I don't like having to be rushed to play something.
Especially not a survival game.
Yeah, I played the demo for a bit, and I was like, okay, it's fun. I'll definitely fun. And then I also tried the demo for Roadcraft. And it was funny because like I was looking on it's a demo, and the demo had a mixed review score. I was like, what? How do you have a mixed review score? And there was like performance. I looked down, and it's people saying, oh, it's nothing like SnowRunner 2. It's not like SnowRunner 2, blah, blah. Why isn't it like SnowRunner 2? And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, what do you got a problem is it's not a totally different game by the same people. And then like, it's funny because all the recent reviews are like, people crybabies saying it's not like SnowRunner. It's like, no shit, it's not meant to be. And, but I went in and tried it, and it's like, it's a game that I remember when the trailer came out for, I think it was at a Summer Game Fest, or it was at some showcase, but essentially it's like, you're leading the construction crew that are trying to clean up after a natural disaster and like rebuild infrastructure and stuff for towns that are impacted. And it was like, when it happened, this is like before the floods on the East Coast that happened. But I was like, this is a really cool idea. I kind of like this. So I've seen a lot of these like sim games where it's like farm sim or other stuff where you're moving heavy machinery and it's very slow, methodical and whatnot. But this is like the concept of like rebuilding, plus it's multiplayer, like rebuilding stuff I thought was really cool. I was like, I really like that. So I tried the demo for a bit, and I'm like, okay, I get the gist of it. I didn't want to put like 1,000 or a bunch of hours into it because again, it was a short-lived demo, and the game comes out at some point later this year. So I'll just wait for it to fully release. But yeah, I had fun playing that. Those are the only 2 demos. But game-wise, I did download Delta Force because it's free to play. It's a really well-polished first-person shooter. They have it's got like a Battlefield kind of mode, like a big multiplayer mode, and then it has some like single player campaign stuff, but it has an extraction mode called Operations. And the thing that kind of makes it stand out over other extraction shooters currently is like, maybe the Hunt Showdown does have this, but I don't play the Hunt Showdown, is like it has operators who have like different abilities because it's squad based. So you have to play with like 3 people. You can queue solo, but it's meant to be played like in a squad. So kind of like Apex Legends, like you have complementary, someone can play medic, someone can do, defensive character, what this and that. And you go into the instance map and you go and you loot and you extract. And it's been out for a bit, and it's only on PC currently. But I played a couple rounds of it, and I'm like, it seems really fun. It moves really well. It looks great. I've been watching YouTuber Sinister FPS play it, which is great because like they're in the UK, so they like stream at perfect times for me to tune in and watch. So I've been watching a bunch of content there, and like I think once it comes to console, the console version did get delayed. It was supposed to come out soon, and then they had to delay it. So they're delaying the console version. But I think once it comes to console, that's probably where I'll really like just go all out and play Delta Force, because then it would be like new players. Solo queuing won't be that bad, and even if I queue with randoms, it hopefully wouldn't be that because no one else will have map awareness. Because that's like the one thing I lack is like, what's a good rotation on this map? What loot should I be grabbing? Yada yada yada. This and that. But I don't play a little bit. I would like to play more if I had someone else. So that it was funny because when I saw, Steam tells you like friends who play, and I saw that Michael played it, and so I clicked on like friends who played, and it was like what's it? View all friends who played or something like that. And when you hover over their name, a little thing pops up that says like tells you how much they played. But for some reason, Steam like there was a it was back on around the 25th of February. There was an announcement and it said on the store page, it said like, announcement update 225. But when I hovered over at the time, it was closed up by that friends who played. So when I hovered over Michael's thing, the information screen popped up right over that date. So it looked like he played 41 minutes on 225. And I was like, oh, Michael played it recently. So I messaged him on Discord. I was like, hey, you play Delta Force? And he's like, yeah, when it was in beta a little while ago. I was like, oh, never mind. I was like, and I looked at it again and I shifted the page around. I'm like, oh, so it just freaking popped up over the thing, making it look like he played for 41 minutes the other day. I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I'll play a few plays, but nope. Played it once.
That's so funny because we were literally talking about Delta Force last night because he has a friend that plays multiple hours every day. He has a friend that plays it like crazy. And he's like, well, I'd really like to play with him, but I don't really like that game.
That's funny.
You just gotta hook.
So when you brought it up, I was like, oh. He's not a big shooter
them up.
like that, so.
Yeah, he can just tag along, be moral support. He doesn't have to do any shooting. He can stick by the extraction site. But yeah, it's funny because like people do run because that game is interesting because like when you go into it, like you get out your loot and it tells you like how much money you have on your person as you go in, and you can buy. What's interesting about that one too is like you can get these tickets that you turn in, and it's like it's like gray, blue, purple ticket, I think, at different tiers, and like you get to choose a loadout, and it gives you a loadout, so it's like a way to get stuff to use to go in if you don't have any gear or if you lose all your stuff because you die a bunch. But then people do these things called these 0 to hero runs in that game, where like they just go in with nothing but a knife because like the AI are pretty easy to take down. They go down like one melee hit, even like the shield guys, you only got to melee them twice. So they'll queue up with just a knife, go in and just do weapon and equipment OSP for all their stuff. So they kill NPCs, get their stuff, and they just go in and loot. That way, whatever they extract with, it's always net gain. And so like everybody does it now. So it was funny when I queued up last night, or the night when I was playing, and it's like I'll hop in here and play like one round real quick and just see. And there's like these two players who just only had a knife, and then I just like killed them immediately because they spawned pretty close to me. But yeah, and then I was playing a bunch of Grey Zone Warfare. I won't go into the war stories there because I had like a lot of fun in that game this week. I think I was playing Wednesday, and like I went to there was like so there's 3 factions in that game, and I've only ever run into like one other faction at a time. But when I was playing, like there's this one spot and it was going off at this LZ, and there was like it was both factions, the other factions fighting each other, and it was insane, man. It was like a war movie. Just listen to the sound going off, and I was like, I really wanted to go peek and see what was going on. And then like one guy eventually like it just grenades, guns going off, and then it's silence, and then like I hear an helicopter come in and extract out. I'm like, all right, clearly one side won, and they left. So I was like, let's go see if I can find any loot. So I go back there and I'm looking, and then I hear a helicopter come in. I'm like, oh, I'm out of here. Like, it's probably like the losing team come back to loot their bodies. And then I run away and I see some dude with no gear just like sprinting through the trees. And I'm like, sorry, bud. I like killed him. I'm like, well, now you can't get your stuff back. And then I went to go do what I wanted to do, which was a task over at this fort at Fort Nerith. And so I head down there, and then I see a helicopter fly over me with 2 people, and they go to the LZ. I'm like, I wonder if what they're doing. So like I wait and I kind of like hide in a bush, and I see like one guy come up over this hill, and I just light him up. And I'm like, okay, I know he's got his buddy. Where's his buddy? And I'm looking for him, and I see him laying down in the bush. I can see his backpack, but then I guess he puts more rounds into me. I think he had better ammo, and he took me out, and I hear him say to his buddy, I got him. Don't worry, I got him. So then I go back, and then later I run up from this far off LZ because I don't want to give the fact that I came there away with the helicopter showing up. So I sneak up, and I go up on this hill, and I could see them like 400 meters, 500 meters away from me, maybe more. And they're both on the like inside of this wall in the point of interest, like at this airstrip, like shooting NPCs. And I just like got the 6x scope, my rifle. And I'm just like, in hindsight, I should have taken out the guy on the right because he was closest to the hole in the wall that they took to get inside. But I shot the guy on the left down him like immediately. And then the other dude, buddy, like runs away. I put some shots into him, and he heals up. And then later, the one dude comes back. I see him go to his body, but I didn't shoot him. I'm like, I'll let you get your stuff. It's like, but just know I could have taken you out. And then he goes outside, and I'm like, I'm waiting for both of them to come back in to continue doing their stuff. And I think the one guy goes to heal, but I think he used up a bunch of his heals because then the other guy left, and the one dude I killed who relooted his body, he stayed, and I could see him. I'm just looking at him. He's crouched like by this tree in a bush, but I could see that motherfucker, and I'm like, I could just headshot this guy right now. But I was like, I'm waiting for them to come in so I could take both of them out. And I'm just sitting there like behind enemy lines, like for 40 minutes, just watching this guy. And then shit goes down at the landing zone again. So then they both run off, and someone else like, anything going on? I'm like, yeah, crazy stuff. And then again, I'm killing another guy around. It becomes nighttime now, and then it's just crazy shit going on. I had one point where I was like trying to sneak around, and I hear a dude fighting he's shooting near the LZ I'm trying to get to. I'm like, oh, he must be shooting at the NPCs. And then I hear suppressed shots to my left up the hill. I'm like, fuck. It's the two factions. They're fighting each other. So I'm like, I'm trying to slowly sneak, only moving when they're shooting, so I know where they are. And I hide in this bush. I'm like, I'm waiting for more shots to go off. And then I just hear this guy running my direction, and then he hides in a bush. And I hear him like eat something. And I'm like, oh man, I know he's near me, but I didn't see where he went. So I can't engage in combat, but I'm like, he's right there and he has no idea. Like I wanted to go on the open mic and be like, what's up? Just like scare him or something. But I ended up letting him go away. I was like, that guy has no idea I was there the whole time.
Just like skirting around a gang war.
Yeah, it's a fun time. But yeah, good game. And then what else? And then I picked up there's a game that got what was going on with my mouse? Mouse acting up a little bit. There we go. There's a game announced, I think a game called Darklight Survivor got announced. It's a sequel to a game called Darklight that came out in 2022, I think. I vaguely remember it. It's like this side-scrolling, like future cyberpunk dystopian action, kind of like a Dead Souls. Dead Souls, is that what it's called? What's the one easily? Oh man.
Do you think of Dead Cells, the 2D Metroidvania?
I was gonna say, isn't Dead Souls like the really bad Yakuza spin-off game?
Dead Cells is the one I was thinking of.
The only reason I know this is because I watched you play for like half an hour or so. I snuck in and lurked, and I'm like, I think you mean Dead Cells, but
yeah. But yeah, it's fun. Got some good music. The problem is like it's a small team, so they didn't do their entire OST. So they have this one boss song that's like really good. I was like, oh, I like this song, and I want to listen to it, and I found it, but it's like it's only up on a licensed website where you have to buy the license to get it. Because when I put up the short clip of me like taking down this one boss, I found these like OP dual katanas. Took the boss down super quick. Like YouTube flagged it as like, oh, you got copyright in the song. You're not in trouble, but you got copyright in the song. I'm like, that's fine, whatever. But kind of bummed me out because like, damn, I like this song. But yeah, it's fun. It's definitely, you could tell it's made by a small team. Like there's some typos in some of the loading screens. But I'm enjoying it. Like it's fun. I like the way it looks. It reminds me a lot of the Swapper, like the character design and like the way it looks.
I could see that having watched you play it for a bit. Is it? So I snuck in, watched you play it for like half an hour while I was cooking and stuff. Is it like a Metroidvania type game, or is it like the Swapper isn't really Metroidvania? The Swapper was like kind of more, I guess, puzzle game. But what genre does this game lean towards?
No, it's like a 2D hack slash, ability Souls-like game. There's no like, no Metroidvania. Like you can just go and explore. It's just there's like quests you got to do at the hub. Like, hey, we need to do this. You go around, you explore the map. Find bosses and fight them.
Are you actually supposed to kill bosses and enemies in that game, or is it? Oh, I think when I came in, you were picking up a weapon or something, and you were kind of skirting past a bunch of enemies and like running past them. Is this a game where you're actually supposed to fight regularly? Because I think you were trying to farm like healing potions, and you kept zoning in and getting one shot by like a guy right in front of a door as you were farming healing items. And I couldn't tell if you were like supposed to fight enemies in this game or if it was more of a horror type thing where you avoid them at all costs.
No, you fight them. It's very much Dead Cells. Like you go and you slash everybody, you take them out. I was just, it's got that Bloodborne mechanic of you have to pick up the healing items, like the blood vials.
Right.
Which is really annoying. But luckily, like, it was only in that one section that I ever run out and like they weren't dropping, because eventually what happened was they started dropping the mana version of that. And I was like, I'm not getting any of the HP ones. But there is an NPC you find that you can buy from them for some easy like stones, these upgrade stones that you don't necessarily need, these gems. They give little bonus stats to your weapons. But But yeah, and eventually I got past like that whole first area I was in the other day that you probably remember was like the tutorial. It's kind of like these big areas. And I finally got out to the spot where there's like these two factions at war with each other and you pick a side and they each have different skill trees depending on which side you go with. And I kind of looked at them and was like, what I like is there's these like totems you can go to and you essentially like quote unquote like pray at them. And you can pick like, it's got 3 randomized things on it. And usually the things that are randomized are skills. And I thought that was such a cool idea of like, hey, before you ever pick a faction that locks you into a skill tree path, there's these totems you can find that kind of randomize these abilities to give you on until you die. It's like, oh, you can try them out. You can try out this one, try that. That way you get enough experience with these abilities beforehand to know like, oh, I really like the ones on this side, so I'm going to side with those guys to get their abilities or, vice versa. So I thought that was super cool. And then even after you sided them, you still can find the totems for the other dudes that you're, quote unquote enemies with now, but still get those abilities. And I think it's like such a cool way to kind of give you a small little glimpse at what those abilities are on each side. But yeah, I mean, I like I said, I really like the way it looks. I like combat. It's fun, just tag and slash. And I wish the guns were a little better. It's very much like sword first. Guns are kind of secondary. But I do wish they were a little chunkier and more involved, I suppose. But no, I'm liking it. Like it's a fun little game. Like it's not I feel like it's way under the radar. Like it's only got like 252 followers on Twitch. Like no one's watching. There's hardly any YouTube videos up on it. Like I was trying to look at some because I had this one section I was going through and I was like, man, it was like essentially it's a section, it's like a stealth section. There's these giant orbs with lights that swing back and forth, and you have to go to the pillar, which is, at the foreground, so then the light doesn't see you and they don't kill you. I'm like, oh, very standard, hide behind the thing in most, 2D side scrollers. But then they also shoot out these like seeking lights that specifically target the position of the pillar. So if you're standing there, you take damage. And I'm like, why? What is this mechanic? And like, it made it so difficult for some reason. And then it was funny because when I finally got through it was it was just a breeze. And I was like, is this supposed to be like really hard? Why am I struggling with this section? And then I went back and I was trying to look up like videos of people playing it, but there were like no videos on YouTube of anybody playing this game. It's crazy. I'm like, I guess no one. I'm surprised it got a sequel, but yeah, just no. It's funny, and a lot of their achievement titles are like references. Like there's an enemy called Clover, and the achievement's called Cloverfield. There's one that I did say complete the distress signal side quest, and it's called Death Stranding, but I'm not sure how it relates to Death Stranding. There's one I defeat like the samurai character says the last samurai. So it's like interesting stuff there. But yeah, it's a fun little game. Like it's on PlayStation as well. It just I picked up because it was might have been on sale when I grabbed it. But yeah, I've been enjoying Darklight. It's a good time. The only problem I have is like it doesn't have as DualShock 4 support, but for some reason DS4 Windows is not cooperating with me to where like I was like, okay, emulate my DualSense as a DualShock 4, but it still shows up as an Xbox controller. Luckily, I know like where the Xbox buttons are, but like there's that bit where I have to kind of learn like, okay, ABXY, ABXY. And I have to, like they say to do something like, okay, I know how to do this thing. And it has a parry mechanic, but the parry's on R3, which is so weird. And I'm like,
that's an awful parry button.
That's an awful button for something like that.
That would make me quit the game right there.
I tried, but I don't parry. I've never parried. Like I just remembered that there was a parry button yesterday because I didn't like they don't tutorialize the parry mechanic at all. And then I just happened to find a thing where it's like, oh, whenever you parry, you refill your mana. And I was like, there's a parry? And I looked in the controls and like, yeah, there's a parry mechanic. And then I was like, why is it R3? And so I was like, okay, let's change it. And now I was like, let's change R1 to be the parry. And I'll make the R1 button. But I realized like, okay, I see why it's R3 because R1 is you hold it, you press it to refill or like reload your gun. You hold it to use your healing items or your mana refill item, whatever one you have. It uses that. And then you also can tap it to pick up items. So I'm like, which is better to do because otherwise R doesn't like the right stick doesn't do anything because it's a side scroller, right? So it's like you move the camera a little bit, it doesn't matter. You don't use R for the right stick for anything. But because if I use that to pick up stuff as I'm running around, or I'm trying to heal while in combat, that means I can't use, dodge, attack, or jump on the face buttons while I'm doing that versus keeping that on the right button. It's like if this is on PlayStation, it would be better because then I can map it to one of the back paddles. Also, the parry window is weird. So because I never did it, like I was trying to practice with it to see like how effective it was. And it's a weird timing. Like it's a very tight window. Like people talk about, oh, the perfect parry in Lies of P is super small, the yada yada. I'm like, not really, but like play Darklight, that shit's like fucking, and plus like every enemy, like, no enemies are telegraphing their attacks super slow like in Souls or Lies of P. So I was just like, I didn't use it that much. But yeah, if I played it on PlayStation, I would definitely remap it on the DualSense to be like, okay, you're going on one of these back paddles right there. But yeah, it was funny. I was like, oh, there's a parry.
All right. I didn't use it because it's on a terrible keybind.
Yeah, it's such a weird button. But yeah, that's one. And then I was trying to think, like I was playing Delta Force, and I was like, oh man, why does my aim feel so weird? And I was trying to look, and I was like, you know what, I probably should look into like what's a proper DPI setting for shooters. And everyone's like, oh, your DPI should be like 400 to 800, and then you adjust the sensitivity up to whatever you need to make it feel good. Like you should, they say like typically what you want is when you move your mouse from the left side of your mouse pad to the right, that's 180 degrees on the first person where your character looks. I'm like, that's fucking big travel distance. Like I was typically playing at pretty high sends because I hate slowly looking. But so I was practicing last night on like changing. I downloaded Aim Labs and I was like, okay, let's do a couple different tiers of sensitivity on my mouse. But then it was like, it made Windows really slow. So I had to crank up Windows mouse pointer speed, which also I had to do because when I was playing Gray Zone, navigating the UI is I guess directly related to your Windows mouse sensitivity. So I had to make sure I crank up Windows mouse because then navigating UI was a pain in the ass. So I think what I'm probably gonna do is find that, like, because I was like, okay, well, like a 650 was pretty comfortable for me in Aim Labs, and then trying it last night in I got to do some more Gray Zone to tighten it in. But I think what I'll do is I'll have like maybe a 650 and a couple steps up and down, and then I'll have like one that's like 2000, just so I can be like, okay, when I'm in Windows, I'm just gonna use, because I don't want to use 700 when I'm browsing my desktop or 650 when I'm browsing my desktop. It's like, no, I want it at like really high so I can quickly navigate all the windows. I'm not shooting
mine at
anybody
like 3000.
Yeah, that's typically what I was doing. I was like, but again, I just cranked up the mouse sensitivity and the Windows settings to compensate. But we'll see if it goes like it, because the one thing that was annoying me is I was trying to change my ADS sensitivity in Gray Zone to be like, if I'm aiming down, I want it slower. That way I can snipe. And it was just like not quite enough. And I was noticing I was trying to change my mouse DPI whenever I'm like 6 times zoomed in to hit an enemy in the head. Because even like your micro adjustment would be kind of big adjustments on the screen. It's like, I got to look into this and change it, make it a little tighter. It also will really help with my flinch panic in first person games. If I get caught off guard, if that happens, I'm like, okay, well, at least it won't be flinching as much. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm enjoying Darklight. Look forward to playing the DLC for Outer Wilds at some point. And yeah, I don't know how much more Delta Force I'll keep playing solo, because the solo queue times take a bit. But we'll see. And then just playing Gray Zone. Good times.
Maybe Split Fiction soon. Who knows?
Well, it all depends on this busy guy I know. He's gonna be like, yo, hey, girlfriend, you want to play some It Takes Two? It'll be a good time. And then we'll play Overcooked and get mad at each other.
God, there's like certain games that I can't play with other people. Like Settlers of Catan is one. Overcooked might be one of those games that I just really shouldn't play with other people, because for some reason that game just frustrates me so much every time I've played it.
That's funny. Yeah, that's it. I don't have any other. Trying to see if I have any other notes. I guess I didn't write anything down. Luckily, I still remembered like the majority of what I wanted to talk about. I did try a new flavor of that Gorilla Mind drink I talked about like ways back. They came out with a mango peach one.
Ooh,
pretty
that
good.
Good.
Yeah, I like it. It's yeah. GNC finally had a buy one get one 50% off sale that covered the product. I'm like, okay, now I can go in and buy more. About like 4 cases of it. I'm like, God, they get so many sales but it'll be like only for certain types of product. And I tell them all the time, stop sending me so many promo emails. I feel like even though I did that, they still send me a ton of promo stuff. But and then on the mobile side, I didn't realize that, I talked earlier about mobile stuff. I didn't realize that Frostpunk had a mobile game.
Really? Like a
Yeah.
port?
Is it good?
I haven't played too much of it. I mean, it has good reviews on Google Play, but it's like Frostpunk. I forget what do they call it here. It's called Frostpunk. Has a subtitle. Hey there, you level 1. It's
Is
booting
it just
up.
a port or is it like a whole separate game?
Beyond. It's called Beyond the Ice. It's very similar, but it's different. So it's got like tap to collect mechanics. It's got like a 4.8 or whatever on Google Play. I don't know what that says about it, but
That's really good for Google Play.
Yeah, I don't remember it being I was trying to figure out what to play, and it's like, okay, I want something good. I forgot they had those Final Fantasy mobile games. I forgot what their subtitles were called. But like the sequel to one. No. It was like Final Fantasy WC, I think. I forget what it stood for, and then there's like another subtitle for it.
Like Brave Exvius and Omnia and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, and like the second one of
like you just know those off the top of your head.
Yeah, it was because Evercrisis is there, but then it was Final Fantasy. Yeah, because all the BEWOTV, which stands for Jesus. They don't even list it here.
Brave Exvius War of the Visions?
Something like that. But like it's not good. I guess it has a lot of gotcha stuff in it.
It does, yeah.
Because I think the first one too. Yeah, I think the first one for that, like, because this is the sequel. I think the first one, it also was like a little different. The first one, I think it was actually better. But yeah, this one's like not as good, so I didn't get it. And then I was like, all right, I guess I won't get those. But then I downloaded the Frostpunk game, and then I also downloaded I was trying to look up like best games on Android and this and that, and like
Shattered Pixel Dungeon.
There you go. They had one that was it was like, oh, it's like a Diablo-like, and I'm like, well, Diablo Immortal's on there. Let's see how that's doing nowadays, because I know people like were super mad when it got announced. Like, what, you don't have phones? Which is a bad thing to say. But we have a console for you. It's called the Xbox 360.
How is it doing now? I haven't thought about that game in a fucking long time.
It's apparently got great reviews and people are loving it. Like I downloaded it. The thing that annoyed me on the download is like there's a bunch of assets that don't download with it, so you have to like download and you can pre-download them. Like, oh, download this town or character models. I'm like, oh, let's make my character. Oh, you want to look at them? So you got to download the asset pack. And I'm like, what? Why did you piecemeal out the downloads? I guess because the game's pretty huge. But I did run around and play a little bit of it, and I didn't play too much, but I'll give it a go. And then because I have the only other big game I have, because I was trying to think of games that are good for like the fold, is the Warhammer 40K. What's it called? It's Tacticus. Like that's supposed to be pretty good. I have that. I've only played a little bit of it, just like grid based thing. I was trying to find I want like a good RPG. I also want a good that's why I got the Frostpunk, because I kind of want like a city management or like a sim. And I also would like an RTS, but not tower defense, because I feel like there's so many fucking tower defense games on mobile. I'm like, that's not what I want.
If you want like a good like tactics type RPG, Sword of Convallaria is really good.
Sword of Convallaria. Write that down myself.
Anime looking? Okay.
Yeah,
of course it's going to be anime looking.
Well, it's chibi.
It's very Final Fantasy Tactics kind of inspired.
Yeah, it looks interesting, maybe.
A little bit. It's got gotcha elements to it, but it's pretty forgiving, and you don't really need the like super high ranking stuff to get through at least like the story or whatever. And the way that it kind of splits up the story is kind of nice because it's very bite-sized.
What's that one game, Isley, where it's like a 9x9 grid, isometric pixel art?
Into the Breach.
Into the Breach, yes. There's that one. I think I played a little bit of it on console. Maybe that'd be a good one to try on mobile if it's on Google Play, and actually go back and.
I think that's is Into the Breach on that? That's a Switch game.
Into the Breach. Well, it's on
with
everything.
The mechs. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, Into the Breach. Yeah, it's on Google Play. It's got 4.8 out of 5.
Wow, didn't realize
I know it's on Apple.
That's a great game. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, I could try that. That'd be kind of good. But yeah, it's like it seems like, and I was trying to look at videos like best RP or best games of this, and it's like so many of them are hot anime lady action slashers, and I'm like, why are there so many of these, man? I was like, I guess because you'd have your Chinese mobile developers and whatnot. That's a huge market over there. There's mobile games, and in Japan. But yeah, I was just trying to find good. I'm curious to see how well the Frostpunk game plays. I played a little bit of it, like just in the tutorial area, but we'll see. Like I said, maybe do Balatro. I mean, I don't play a whole lot, but if I had more games on it, it'd be like I'd be more incentivized. Maybe play them on like my break or something, or I could just do the side by side play one game on top half and watch a video on the other half or something. I do love that functionality of the phone.
God, I wonder how quickly
ADHD
that would
jingly.
kill your battery.
I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, yeah, Diablo's like, I'm like, yo, I wanna put up the graphics, put up this, and it's like, yo, if you do it, it might damage your battery and make your shit too hot. I'm like, do it. don't question me. But it is nice. It shows my battery down to like the bottom left because at the time my battery was kind of low, but I was like, I want to try these out real quick. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll just do Balatro, but we'll see. Yeah, that's basically it. Got anything else? No other notes. All right, well, we'll go ahead and call it there. Good episode. Hopefully get some good news coming up. And like I said, we got lots of games, so I'm sure if we all end up playing Assassin's Creed around the same time, we'll be able to talk about that. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Zai, for joining.
Yep.
And we'll see you all next time.
Later.